It would be even harder for the Pope to keep his congregation in line. In many ways, John Paul II was a man ahead of his time. His politics, his jet-set lifestyle, he even had his own website. But when it came to doctrine, he was accused of being a man behind the times.
And the church has to find out what she's going to do in history. Where does she stand now? Go with history, against history?
In 1979, the same year that thousands of Americans flocked to idolize the Pope, a middle-aged nun stood up and begged him on national TV to consider the ordination of women.
I call upon you to listen with compassion and to hear the call of women who comprise half of humankind.
Kane was just one of a group of rebels within the church who thought the Vatican needed to adapt ancient doctrine to modern reality. The Pope did not agree. In 1994, he banned the very discussion of the ordination of women.
What was surprising, I thought, was I would say the vehemence or the firmness or the determination that he had in stopping the whole thing.
The Pope was just as strict when it came to discussion of birth control or abortion, practices both banned by the Catholic Church.
Catholic Church is unambiguously committed to protecting and cherishing every human life, including the life of the unborn.
When an American priest headed up a petition arguing that Catholics had the right to disagree with the Vatican, he was banned from teaching at Catholic University. The priest told NBC he was not alone in being forced out of the church.
One of the unfortunate things I see in the United States, frankly, is the fact that many very good Roman Catholic theologians have left Catholic institutions. Frankly, I think many of them have told me they're afraid of the harassment.
John Paul is building the church of the 1980s in accordance with his pastoral vision. If he has his way, its future will not deviate from the past.
The Pope reinforced his conservative image with the publication of a revised canon law that threatened women who had abortions with excommunication. On his next visit to the U.S., adoring crowds of American Catholics turned out to see the Pope. But so too did protesters, chafing at the rigidity of his positions.
The easiest way to put it is that a lot of people, everybody loved the messenger, but not everybody loved the message.
Christ's message must live in you, and in the way you live, and in the way you refuse to live.
Many American Catholics just ignored the Pope.
So we practice birth control, and we feel very good about it.
Others felt excluded.
When Father Hanley told me that, sorry, Francis, we can't marry you in the church, that to me was the death blow of Catholicism as far as I look at it.
It was a standoff. The Pope would not compromise on doctrine to suit the modern-day needs of Catholics.
This Pope was not going to be like all the politicians we see who take a poll and then decide what they're going to say. No, this guy goes to prayer, he goes to the gospel, he goes to his theology, and then he says, this is the truth.
That sense of truth may have come from the Pope's feeling of a personal connection with God. Ever since he was a little boy, the rhythm of prayer had divided up his day. He was a genuine mystic. The Pope believed that it was his religious worship that brought him into contact with God.
I believe he recognizes, realizes the presence of God in his life more than anybody else I've ever known.
The Pope's piety made an impression on all those around him, from the cardinals who worshipped alongside him.
Shouts and all kinds of noise in the cathedral. He knelt, and suddenly around him was absolute silence and absolute motionlessness. Everything was still. He was talking to God. I'm convinced he was talking to God and probably listening to God talking to him.
To the reporters who traveled with him, his personal faith was awe-inspiring.
When he was praying, he would go into these moments that to us seemed like he was in a trance, that you could sort of, explode a bomb 10 feet away from him and you wouldn't have heard it. And you come out of it, and then his face being transfigured.
It surprised me.
It's bad!
His experience of God himself did not make him question the legitimacy of other religions. He thought Judaism and Islam could lead believers to God too. This prompted him to reach out to them, not for converts, but for knowledge and understanding.
No pope, perhaps ever, has demonstrated such a conviction that all truths, from whatever source, point to the truth, capital T, who is God.
From his historic visit to Turkey in 1979,
this is a different sort of trip for John Paul. There will be no large crowds, no huge outdoor masses. The Pope has ventured into the heart of the Muslim world at a time of increased Islamic sensitivity.
to his meeting with the Dalai Lama 20 years later, John Paul II embraced all creeds. He made his greatest overtures, however, to the Jews.
No pope in 1900 years put as much energy